So I'm recording. Um, I don't know if it's gonna come through anyway, even if I did. So Donald Lupe, I think you guys sent me a message. I'm a reactive. I'm gonna type for now. I have to fix my internet. All right. That's fine. Sometimes I'm in the same boat, Tiffany. So I don't know. Sometimes my internet acts up. Something's acting up. All right, Donald, React. So like, how many years experience do you have doing React? Like, did you just start, or have you been doing it for a while? 3 to 5. Oh, that's a little while. All right. Just React only? Like you just been that's been like your main, just React? Yeah, JavaScript basically. Yeah, pretty much it is. But yeah, no, I was just wondering if like React was like the your go-to framework, like if that's the only JavaScript framework you've been using the whole time. Yeah. All right. Uh, Let me see. All right, so we have I'm gonna leave that open so I can see your guys' chat. But I have we have a project that we've been working on here, but it's not in what you expect because normally we had more people showing up. So some people are already uh, on the GitHub to collaborate, and some people are on the mural board for collaboration. I think the last time we did more on the mural board. So like I can open up the mural board. Let me share my screen, I guess. So that way, I don't know if you guys. I'll share my screen for Donald and Lupe because I think you guys can't. Uh, you guys are the ones that. You know what? I'm gonna keep sharing. I'm gonna share on the screen that's already open on the big screen, but I'll just pull it in the. Yeah. So like, if you guys want to look or watch what I'm talking about, I can send you guys an invite if you guys are interested in contributing to the project, and I'll tell you more about the project. But this one. So we're using Board for our projects, and this project's the AI health project. So like the goal, I guess, the basic goal of the project. Where do we have that? We have our like just the basic overview. I believe I put it right here. Yeah, I put it right here. So the original idea was the project will be an AI platform that helps users stay conscious of foods or drinks or whatever it is that they're consuming, like any foods or drinks, by uploading ingredients in the form of text or images, and then getting feedback from the AI regarding the healthiness of the food or drinks that they want to consume. So that was at a basic level. We've kind of like tried to flesh out a little more details in our past meetings. This is just an example of low fidelity wireframing, like for anybody that wants to go over that. It doesn't have to be complex. That's kind of what we're doing because we noticed that right now we don't have enough consistency for anybody to use Figma and give us like high fidelity. And we also last meeting we came up with an app flow for the MVP. So we came up with the app flow if anybody wants to check that out. I zoomed in on it a little bit because we are recording this, so that way for the benefit of anybody that misses, they can just pause the video if they want to check it out and read it. But basically, me, Rigel, and I believe Lou, and someone else. There's a handful of us, I believe, that showed up last time. Oh yeah, and Yosef, and we are all fleshing out the MVP flow. And then we were starting on the wireframes in mobile view because like the whole goal of this web app, even though it's going to be a web app, it's not going to be like we're going to start it as a web app and see where it goes. So we're gonna make it like, of course, responsive. I want to make it fully responsive. That's why we're gonna use Bootstrap 5. But oh yeah, and we're using Parcel for our bundler, so that way anybody that's aware of bundlers, so they know what we're using. That we're using a bundler or a more modern bundler, one that we don't have to configure like crazy. And um, so we started the wireframes, and we're expecting people to use this on mobile. But that would be the main thing because it's going to be too hard to get people take pictures or upload images and all that stuff. They can input text on desktop, but it's gonna be hard for them to do what you normally do on mobile. You want people like maybe if they're grocery shopping or something, they want to get something. Um, Maybe they want to check it out real quick. Like I'm interested in this product. Let me see if anything. Let me just take a picture of it and see if there's anything in it I should be worried about. So we're gonna try to see how much we can get the AI fleshed out on that. Like to see how and what kind of details we can capture. Accurate to some extent, because we already know that we're gonna have a disclaimer. So I kind of went over into the legal compliance section. Um, and then we have our marketing. These are like future. The marketing and legal compliance are like, we gotta consider now the legal, but the marketing's more for the future. But our theme and branding, these are all just basic stuff that I came up with for us. That I helped out. And then me, Rigel, and Yosef, we went into a little bit of detail on brainwriting. We did some brainwriting, which is similar to brainstorming. But if you click this little logo here, it'll give you a description of what brainwriting is. And then it allows people to comment on other people's ideas, that creates discussions and things like that if people are more interested in it. Uh, but our original intent was just to uh, kind of map out some of the things we're thinking about when we're thinking about the functionality. So I didn't get the chance to. I'm going over this stuff because I didn't get a chance to record last week's event. So um, we went over to whether we want to connect to ChatGPT's API or whether we're going to just create our own. Creating our own, of course, is going to be a little bit bigger of a task. Not much bigger, but a little bit bigger. It just depends on whether we could find I believe, a large language model that's reliable enough, because ChatGPT boasts that they have the biggest large language model out there right now. And that's why I wanted to connect to it, but it costs money. So like it's cheap. It's dirt cheap if we use 3.5, but if we use 4, it's a little bit more. But that's like every time somebody hits us for a request on that API, it's gonna be a little less than a penny. I think it's like point 0.8 of a penny or something like that. And that adds up quick when you depending on how many people are hitting that. So we would have to have people um, maybe have people some kind of way where we have some kind of subscription, I guess, or maybe some other feature where we can compensate for that, because we don't want that coming out of our pockets. That's going to get too expensive if you got a lot of people just hitting that API all day, or a lot, every day. Um, I'm not sure. I don't believe we touched this section here. This was just an overview and with relevant links. So like it's gonna have um, if you guys found us on Meetup, then we also have Eventbrite. So I don't know if where you guys found us on Meetup or Eventbrite. So we can put the Eventbrite up here. Um, but we have our GitHub, we link our mural, YouTube, things like that. The website, our company website, which it's okay to have that there for now. I'm actually updating the company website 2.0 right now. So the one up right now was the first one that I pretty much slapped together real quick to get me a website going. But this next one's going to be a little bit nicer. Oh yeah, this is more just notes on the other things we did. So looking at back at everything we did, that's mainly what we did last week. We spent time going over what type of wireframing, and we opted in for low fidelity, just for people to get a basic experience if they've never done it. And then we started that a little bit. We began that, but we did our app flow first, and then after we did the app flow, then we went into the wireframing. But we also did this actually before anything. We did the brain writing first. So we started just writing things that we're thinking about, that users might think about, because we would like if people contribute to this section right here, this brain writing, you can just add your own section if you want, and then put your name and then put all your notes in there, like so we know it came from you. And the whole point of it was to be able to think about like what type of user maybe you are, or maybe what other kind of users we that would be using the app, to maybe get further details about the information they might be looking for, or what type of functionality we might have to build into it. Give me a second. Can you guys hear my background noise? Is it like too much? Oh, Lupe says she can't hear us. Oh my goodness, I hope I wasn't yakking this whole time for nothing. Oh, okay, you could hear me, Tiffany. Okay, so Lupe can't hear us. I don't know. I think that's on her end. Give me a second. Let me type that in. Can you hear me now? Let's see. I don't hear the background noise now. Yeah, because Irina went to the other room, I think. 'Cause she's having a meeting and she's like right behind me and she's pretty loud. No, not yet. Oh my goodness. Donald, can you hear me? Okay, so let me tell Lupe everybody can hear me. So it has to be on her end. I was trying to see if it was on my end. I'm gonna tell her to try uh, lo- logging logging out and back in to the meeting. I try that when some people can't hear me, I try just logging, exiting the meeting and coming back, and it usually helps. That's how crazy this app is. Discord didn't used never used to be this buggy, but over time, because I've been using it for like 3 years now, and it's been within this last year that it's been really weird. So I don't want to change it now because I built this community here, and it would be hard to transfer all of this over to something like Slack. Because I was thinking about maybe transferring this all over to Slack, because Slack's actually a pretty cool place to build a community. And but Discord's cool. Just I don't know. Okay, so she's gonna try that Lupe, unless that's a guy. So if that's a guy, I apologize, because there's guys named Lupe too. Uh, Bo. So Bo's not the first time. Yosef. Oh wait, hold on. Let me put that back to where I was at.
Yeah,
All right. No, I was just checking on you. Everything good? You can hear me? Like you got
yeah,
your mic working? All right. So yeah, that's if anybody wants to do that. All you got to do is just if you want to, like you can just like copy a section over if you want, or maybe I could do that for you now if it just in case anybody's interested. Maybe I don't know where the heck this thing would go, but maybe there, and then just well, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't have done it like that. Hold on, because Rigel actually we shouldn't have done it like that. Let me delete that. We actually kept a copy of it somewhere off to the side. Oh, here we go. I think. Let me see. Yeah, brainwriting. We actually kept a copy of it off to the side, so that way we can just copy it over if we need any more. So let me do that really quick. Jeez. All right, and then maybe let's see how we can line this thing up. Hold on. Yeah, it looks like about right. There we go. And then I'll get these. That was right. Ooh, I don't know. I'm just gonna put them like that. Whoops. And then we can have some more people. Um, I just use these as dividers. That's all I was doing when I put these up. Just to like, so that way you can know each section belongs to somebody. And then just delete these here and then write in whatever you want. well, if you want to contribute to this, we're hoping more people would contribute and then give us more ideas or just your thought process, whatever you think. If you want to comment on somebody else's thought process, you can. Um, Let me delete all this so that way it's blank, a blank slate here. So like the way I would comment on somebody else's idea, if you want to like maybe add to it or not, just use another sticky note or something, and then you can use the arrows. So like in this one, like if I wanted to comment on, let's say Yosef's comment, I can just grab another sticky note, any color I want, and just maybe I don't know, stick it nearby somewhere. Yeah, I know it's a little inconvenient. All right, so I see what's going on that. Maybe underneath it, and then you could use arrows as like connectors. Just grab an arrow, and then you connect it, and you can just do something like that. Maybe to some extent like that. That's just an example. We'll figure out a system here and get it more. We'll get it going better. So that's basically what we did in the last one. It took us some time to do that. So like I know it doesn't look like much, like we got much done, but it did. It took us some time to get that done. Um, I think it was a lot we got done. All right, so then we have hold on. Let me see if Luba can hear us now. We'll see. All right, so Donald, were you interested in joining the project, or were you just visiting? So we're hoping we get more and more people interested in joining, but okay, you're just watching. All right, that works. Let's see, Lupa's typing. Oh, geez. I'm not sure what to do about that. That sucks. Well, let me let this person know that there will be. I'm recording it anyway. Whoops. Let me rewrite that. There we go. Um, all right, so like that's basically where we were at. Where we were at was, we got the app flow done, but we kind of wanted to keep working on the uh, on our wireframes before, or at least finish our wireframes before we got. I remember we put this here, but we don't need this. Well, yeah. So I ran into other. I was looking at third-party libraries for transitioning. It's like transition libraries like Barba.js, and I ran into another one, Swap.js. But they both have their pros and cons. So like Swap is definitely buggy. Like Swap's weird. Um, it makes your JavaScript when you switch pages, it deactivates like your whole JavaScript file, and so like you have to do a bunch of workarounds with their with the functions they provide just to see which one works to get your application working. So I didn't want to use that library. I felt like it was BS to have to do that. That the library should already work. We shouldn't have to basically experiment just to figure out how to make it work, because then what happens down the road when it stops working again. So anyway, um, that was that issue. Just to tell you guys about that, if you're wondering around about that note. Identify calories. Yeah, we could do that. Uh, Let me go back to our wireframe. So we left off on the app flow. I remember when we were talking about our app flow, we went from user nav's homepage to user presented with tools and tools instructions. So like the tools and tools instructions, like we had this splash screen, and then we had our uh, uh, homepage here. We had two versions of it. So um, one just because we didn't know like okay, however we want it to look. I mean, it's low fidelity. It might not even look like either of these, but just to get like a basic idea, we just had the two tools. We just had to take a photo or a file upload, or actually not take a photo, a file upload was because we are gonna ask people to upload the image that they took when they take a picture of the nutrition, just to see if maybe that's an option for now until we look into more third-party libraries, depending on what we're going to use for the solution for AI. Because we don't know if we're going to go with Python or JavaScript yet. But take a photo was one option, but that's actually um, no longer an option. Not right now at this point. It could be in the future, but um, well, it kind of was here enter manually. So somebody kind of changed mine a little bit because I actually did this one. So you know what? I'm just gonna leave it. Maybe someone else had an idea with this. Let me see. Okay, yeah, we're gonna have some kind of wait, maybe. We could show them a loading screen, a loader error message. Yeah, because I believe that's what was gonna be next. Let me see. User selects upload tool or selects the text tool or the upload tool. User uploads the image. Image invalid. Label not recognized. Uh, all right, so this is a little bit weird. Yeah, this shouldn't be like that. Yeah, that's definitely not a yes. Hold on. Let me fix that really quick. We should have said it is the image invalid. Uh, Label not recognized. I don't know. I guess that works. I mean, oops. Let me see if I can size this down. Let me see. Oh my goodness. Don't drive me crazy, you stupid app. Alright, let me see. Whatever. It's not letting me let me try it. It's not letting me select the text anymore. Yeah, see if you can select text, Tiffany. If it lets you size it down to fit within that. Uh because like oh yeah, wait a minute, hold on. There's all kinds of stuff that changed. There we go. Let me go back. Something happened when I did that. There we go. Let me make sure it didn't change anything else on the board. Alright. Alright, there we go. But this shouldn't be yes here. I don't agree with that being yes because that is clearly off. This should be yes here. So we should have more text. I don't know how the hell they put that. Let me see. Let me see if I can get that. Just move it. Mm, We'll just switch it to no. And then maybe move it a little bit closer. Near. Make it a little more obvious that it belongs there. Oh, come on. Let me try zooming in a little bit because this thing's gonna get me. All right. Well, it doesn't let me select it without selecting everything else, so whatever. I guess I just have to figure out how to add text to this one. Line type text, there we go. And then we'll put yes here. So I'm not a pro at using this. This is like my first time using Miro, so forgive me. And we'll put it over here. Well, this ain't my first time using it because I've had it other. You get what I'm saying. This is my first time actually using it for anything. Is this project and another project for the mentorship program we have. Um, but before that, I've never used Miro. I thought Miro was pretty cool because it gives us a lot of free tools to use, but um, it's kind of a pain in the neck. Let me see, user prompted to re-upload image. All right, so that's if there's a problem. Now we have if they select the text tool, user inputs ingredients, and there shouldn't be a problem with that. The app should process it, and then they're presented with the results. All right, so that looks okay there. So thinking about that flow, that's where we were at with this uploading, processing. We get an error page, which means that they get redirected to re-upload the image. I believe this is what this one's for. I can say, well, we can leave it error page, why not? And then we have a results page after that, which was um, yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much basically. I mean, we can get a little bit more in detail with the results pages if we want, depending on. But I mean, we want the result to maybe we can have different sections depending. I don't know. We'll flesh it out later. We'll see what our results look like when we connect to the AI and we see what it's spitting back out. But for now, uh, yeah, the uploading, and then we can get like maybe while they're waiting, if it's taking a while, we can use a loader. Let me copy this one and just change it a little bit. Maybe we can before. Well, let me see. Move it over a little bit just for now. But we're gonna change its, we'll change, we'll call it, no, we're not gonna call it processing results page. Oh, it gave me the wrong one. Give me a second. There we go. And that thing went into the other one. So we'll just say, just in case we need a loader, just to let the user know that it's loading. I think that might be a good idea because once for uploading, when uploading the image, and then we can have like instead of like wait, we could say like generating response or something. I don't know if that's gonna let me stack it. Let me see. Um, I guess not. So, oh my goodness. You suck sometimes, Miro. Let's see. So we'll just stack it for now. It doesn't matter. We just want to somehow, it doesn't have to look exactly like this, but we just want to somehow let the user know that the response is coming. Hold up, don't leave the app. Yeah, I'm in a meeting. Okay, I'll see you. You have a good day. All right. Uh, yeah, coding all day, pretty much. All right. So that's pretty much it. It looks like that's the wireframe. I think that's good. Um, we did to show you guys the GitHub. Let me go to the GitHub. So we did have the GitHub. Where the heck did we put it for? Right here. We put it for this one, I believe. So this is the main, but on the dev branch, it looks different. I believe, yeah, it does. All right. So um, it tells you how to get set up. I think this one's public. Yeah, it's a public one if you guys want to look it up. But we are using Bootstrap. We're gonna use just straight up. I believe we're using SCSS, so it's not too far off from CSS. Just yeah, it has basic things that you gotta know, like variables and nesting, to use it a little bit more efficiently than CSS. You're gonna write it similar to CSS, but not quite similar with your selectors. Um, but this is if you want to install the project and get working on it. But it'd be better if we first, um, if you're interested in joining us, if we get you in as a collaborator. So I'll show you how many people we got so far. Oh, yeah. No, we don't want to save my password for this here. Yeah, so we've got about a dozen, not including myself, about a dozen people. All right, I'll see about a dozen people that are going to collaborate to the project. So let me go back to the dev branch. I'll have to fix that for the main branch so it doesn't look ugly. I'll have to switch this over to that branch. So that's basically that. I will have a video already posted if anybody's interested. Where let me go back to Discord where I went into how to set up a project in your environment if you're already a collaborator. Oh, yes, I do. Yeah, let me show you what that is. So since I'm sharing my screen, I'm gonna show you what the resources are that I use for SCSS. It's pretty simple. What does this say? Is image upload same as taking a picture? If the app is for a mobile device, taking a picture sounds more usable. Yeah, well, we are wondering if we are going to integrate that yet. So we're wondering if we're going to have, because we're trying to maybe build it at a basic level to avoid like user permissions and all that stuff. So like maybe we won't have to. We'll see. Maybe we'll just integrate it in the first place. But like because we talked about that before. That's another thing we talked about was do we want to get permission to the camera and then use the app like in the app to take the picture of the camera and then it'll upload the image that whatever image they take automatically, or do we want them to just they can always save that instance of the application running on the side if they minimize it on mobile in their mobile app. They could just go to their um, like Google, for example, if you're using Google Photos on Android, you can go to your camera and just snap a picture of the nutrition label, make sure it's nice and clear, and then you can go back into the app and um, hit upload image, and it's gonna just ask where I'm assuming we're gonna have to ask for permission anyway, but ask uh, to access the pictures on their device, and then so that way they could select the right image and then upload it that way. So like there's two different processes we're thinking about for 360 because 360 asked the question here. Um, so we're thinking about those processes, and then so like when we get to that point, maybe we can just um, go about it. Just take the permissions like right away and just like maybe have something that ensures people that we're not trying to take pictures that ain't um pictures relevant for the app, and we're not trying to sell nobody's data. So like if we get to a point where we make it more or where we have to have some form of payment so that way the app can run or we can afford our requests, so it's not coming out of our pockets, then I wanted to make sure people know that we're not trying to sell their data, because I'm not trying to be one of those people that collect users' data and then try making money off that, because that's what people do. Uh, but I don't feel that's, I don't know, I don't like it. I don't like people hijacking my data and making money off my data without me knowing. I think it's ugly. But that's just like the state of affairs, I guess, with what we deal with here in the United States or around the world for most people. Um, but yeah, I do. Let me get that. Let me look up that resource really quick, Tiffany. If I'm sharing my screen, I just go to SAS. So like me, I go here to SAS's website, and um, basically, if you go to Learn SAS, because they have the playground, the installation, you don't have to worry about that for the project. It's already installed. You just have to go through the steps like I showed in the previous video to get the dependencies installed on your environment, so that way you can run it and then use because it uses SCSS, so it's going to use SCSS and not SAS basically. So like there's two types. You have SCSS and then you have SAS, and the syntax is a little different. So if you look at SAS, the syntax is kind of like Python, where it looks like the separators are all white space. But with SCSS, it looks more like regular CSS, where you have your curly brackets and your semicolons. Um, you to define your block, and then your to end your statements, and or as separators. You get what I'm saying. And it's the SAS, you don't have that. I don't like that. Like some people like that, but I like using SCSS. I like everything looking a little more readable, a little bit more I guess organized. I don't know. For me, it does that. And then you're gonna see, like for example, with variables, with regular CSS, if we go to variable, it wouldn't look like this. So this is like a bad example right now. They're not really giving us an example, but in regular CSS, it's not gonna let me edit this. But you wouldn't have this dollar sign. You'd have a dash dash, like two minus signs next to each other. And then to access that variable is different in CSS. You have to use the variable keyword, like a built-in function, your parentheses, and then you pass in your name of your variable with a minus minus in the name. So like if I showed you like variables on CSS, so you can see what they look like in regular CSS, um, this is what it would look like here, and this is how what it would look like when you use it. So like if you're looking at my screen right now, you have to it's good to define it in the root, because that's usually what I do. I'll define it in the root, and I'll have all my variables in regular CSS, and they go minus minus the variable name, and then then the value itself. And then wherever you want to use that variable, though, you have to use your the variable keyword parentheses, and the only parameter it's going to take here is the name of your variable. But with SAS, you don't have to do all that drama. With SAS, you just define your variable, like right here, and wherever you want to use it, you just plug it in. You don't got to worry about the variable keyword with parentheses and all that other stuff. You just money sign name everywhere you want to use it. And then nesting. The other basic thing to use SCSS is nesting. And we can talk about nesting now, because if you notice, it's got two examples. So SAS, of course, is just gonna be more like Python style. SCSS looks more JavaScripty, so uh, and more CSS style. But the difference is that if you want to access that unordered list inside of your navbar in CSS, you have to do nav, unordered list, and then your styling, because you're trying to target the unordered list or element inside of your nav bar and not everywhere else on the page. Because if you just did unordered list and put all this in here, anywhere else you have an unordered list, it's going to hit all those places. But this is how you would select the child of the parent. So like, or to make sure that unordered list inside of just that nav bar, you would have to do this in CSS. I think in SCSS it's a little more readable because you use nesting. So you'd say everything in my nav bar I want styling for. I'm going to style my unordered list, then my list items and my anchors, and you can just have them all nested in there, and it makes sense like that. Uh, and regular CSS, you'd have to hit them individually. Then you have to repeat yourself nav, list item, nav, anchor, just to get them individually. So SCSS kind of helps organize it, know what you're help you keep better track of what you're styling, in my opinion, and then it's more cleaner and it's easier to read. You know that uh, all these elements I'm styling here are within the nav bar and they're nowhere else. So all these styles here only apply to those elements inside of that nav bar. And in regular CSS, it's easy to screw that up. It's easy for especially people that are beginners to screw that up. And it's like the way I felt about CSS was like, because there was a lot of beginners that came in initially, was that CSS is cool when you're first learning, but at the same time, I feel like SCSS is cleaner. Like it's a cleaner way to learn. I think, in my opinion, just because and it helps separate everything and like compartmentalize everything for you when you're first learning, and then you gotta learn how to keep in mind hierarchy, like inheritance, basically, like parent and children, uh, with your nesting, so with your HTML and things like that, because you know the cascading of CSS. But they have other things here like that you can read about. They have partials, modules. They have mixins, and you can use it for inheritance as well. But I think this is actually a slightly different style. It's like similar to like using classes, I believe, if you've done object-oriented programming. Yeah, it's gonna let you use their extend keyword to extend a set of CSS properties to another selector. Then it gives you an example of how to do that if you want to read about it. And then you have operators. Uh, but like I was saying, you don't have to get all crazy into it like that if it's your first time. If you The main two things you just have to know are variables and nesting. Those are the two main things you have to know for SCSS. It's just that like when if it's your first time, these things have to be consistent because we're going to be using variables for our custom color scheme and logo when it's developed and things like that, and maybe other stylings that we're going to use repetitively. We're going to use we want to use a variable for, but our nesting is something that you don't want to get around because you could slap this in your SCSS file and get away with that, but that defeats the whole purpose. Um, you want to follow this way of using SCSS the way it's supposed to be used and use your nesting. So like that's why I said these two are when you're first starting are don't let it overwhelm you. These are the two main things to keep in mind because everything else is just straight up CSS. Besides that, it's just straight up CSS, and it's not going to be much different. But I think SCSS is a better way to uh, write CSS and learn CSS compared to just vanilla CSS. It can get pretty hectic, and then it's easier to make a bunch of mistakes. All right, so or have styles overriding styles that you didn't intend to be overriding and things like that. Is SAS and SCS the same or no? Okay, can you post the link? Yes, I'll post the link. Let me get that link for you. So I'll get the link here to the basics, to the guide, but you can navigate anywhere on the page of course you're interested in. But I'll leave it linked to the guide. Wait, hold on, let me just open that back up. And I'll link it back to the guide for you. I think I have it. If you go to our channel, inside of the server, we have where is that server? Uh, we have a AI Health Project channel. So if you click there, watch because I'm sharing my screen, I'll click there. We should already have that somewhere in our history. So we've kind of went over some of the things that we wanted to use or things that we are using. And then SAS got to be somewhere around here. Let me see. Uh, I could have sworn I put that thing in here. Let me see. Mm, did I not put it in here? I guess not. All right, so let's put it in there. Jeez, I thought I could have sworn I put that thing in here. Let me double check. Let me look at all these links I tossed in here. Yeah, I guess I didn't. So let me put that link in there. I'm gonna edit this one, and we'll put the link because we are using SAS. So whoa, I hate when it does that when I hit the enter. All right, so we'll just say SCSS or SAS, uh, and we'll put our link here. So now it's in there. It's in the channel too now. See, it'll say right here, SAS Basics. All right. Um, let me go back. Where were we? Oh my goodness. There we go. Anybody, any other questions for right now? Yeah, yeah, you're welcome, Tiffany. Anybody else have any other questions? Because I guess now that we went over that, and I myself got up to date. Uh, what's up, Joseph? You have questions?
I was going to ask because I've never even dealt with like SAS or anything like that, or CSS for that matter. I was just kind of browsing the website. I was just kind of wondering, just in a way to relate to it, how where do you see your outputs? Like, is it installed in VS Code? Like, I
Yeah,
haven't read any of the
like,
documentation.
oh yeah, because you haven't. So like I think I did it in one of my previous videos, but like there's a whole development process because like we're using the parcel web bundler, and then that's gonna have a built-in development server, but it's called a dev server, and like basically
Okay.
we're able to but I'll show you a demo of it. I'll share my other screen. Oh no, I could keep it on this screen and probably just pull it in so you can see what I'm talking about. Let me open up that project. I think I have it in, where do I have that project? I have it on my SSD right here. I might have it on my external SSD, so let me check first. Um, my only thing with the parcel is that it crashes here and there, so you gotta have patience with it. So like parcel, when you, depending on the changes you're making and how fast you're making them, parcel will crash on you. You gotta restart the dev server, but that's my only complaint with parcel. Other than that, it works great. Like everything's great. Uh, Oh yeah, there it is. All right, I found it. So let me open it, and then I'll go ahead and share it on my big screen right here, so you can see what I'm talking about. Because we don't have much going on there yet, because we're still hashing out, like, because we're okay getting everything else in order before we just jump into the code, and then trying to see um, get a feel for who is going to be showing up consistently, so we can see who how we're going to assign tasks. So like we still haven't even assigned tasks yet. And we're wondering if because of the infrequency of like like for people showing up, because we're looking for consistency and it's not quite there, maybe we should just put tasks out there and people could just pick them up if they feel like they can work with that. So let me put this in the screen. So I don't know, can you see that right now? Because I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah.
All right, let me see. All right, I'll put this one here. We'll put this one here. Uh, So like I think basically all we have on here, yeah. So we didn't have much here, but if in web development, I don't know if you guys deal with these in Python, but I don't believe so, but or maybe you do. You
Packages.
have a package JSON. Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure you still have a package JSON, npm, all that stuff. But basically, our dependencies in this project, our dev dependencies, is the parcel transformer for the SAS, which is going to take our SCSS and compile it into CSS for us because that's what we're using as a main styling file is CSS. And then we have parcel. And then for our dependencies, we have Bootstrap's JavaScript, and then we have Bootstrap itself. And I haven't really changed nothing else. I left this here. Um, we do have our scripts, and this is just for our npm start command to kick off the server, so that way it knows what where it's gonna run it from, and like what.
Are these files generated when you install it, or
Yeah, if you
um,
do, like,
y-
once you initialize npm in your project, it does
okay,
it,
got
but um
it. Okay.
this one you never have to modify. This one you should nobody should ever modify. This one updates itself. This is the only one that you're going to modify, but the package lock updates itself. Node modules, you got to worry about that. You just leave it alone. The dist folder was for the bundler, and so is the parcel cache for the bundler. The ones you're going to be working in is the JavaScript file, the SCSS file, and the index HTML. Our README is just okay. Our README is boring right now, but it doesn't matter. We'll fix that at some point. But basically, if I open up my my console here and I just run npm start, you'll see it's gonna load. It'll load the project, and then right here it's gonna direct you to this localhost 1234. That's just how Parcel does it. You can control and click it. Oh, wait a minute. Why did it go to my website?
A similar command to React, like um,
That is weird.
npm.
Hold on, give me a second because it went to my it went to my website that I'm working on. All right. Um, I think that's like the cache issue. Let me check my cache real quick. Let me clear the cache and then see if that's the problem because I shouldn't have done that. I am in the AI health project. That is weird. All right, so let's go to band application. No, I was just storing a theme. So I don't know why that did that. Let's clear it. I'm just gonna clear it because I don't understand why that jumped over to my website instead of the project itself. They should have stayed in the project. I'm just trying to make sure nothing's going on in this file. Hold on, give me a second. All right, let's try that again. Um, that's the first time I had this issue with this damn thing. Maybe I have to change the local host. Yeah,
You,
that's not,
you
that's
don't
not,
need a virtual environment, do you?
we don't need the what?
You're not running in a virtual environment. It has to be installed in a virtual environment.
No, our bundler is just gonna run it, but inside of our from the bundler itself, it finds these files and then it runs it. But like, let me try deleting these files first, because I could technically delete the um,
Sorry, I didn't mean to get you off track. Where are you going?
error busy. Oh yeah, I see the problem. It's because I'm running the server. All right, so let me get the dist folder and delete it again, and then the parcel cache, delete that. Um, That is weird. I've never had that issue because I use Parcel with more than one project, and then I use Vite as well. But for some reason, they're clashing. I don't know what the hell the issue is. Let me see. Let me make sure I didn't delete nothing else that was important here. I'm gonna go to my recycle bin real quick. Uh, all right. Um, yeah, if it does it this time, oh, there we go. This time it did do it. All right. So there we go. Now it's in the right place. So we have our Bootstrap parcel. Um, so it rebuilds all the parcel and the dist file. That's why I deleted them, and I was just trying to like clear it all up and see if maybe there was some problem with the maybe in the browser cache too, because from one parcel project to the other. But basically, when you're developing, like if I wanted to change the color of this, because these are Bootstrap classes, if I wanted to change the color to like red, if I save it, see like when you're developing in web development, um, you get your changes live while you're coding with the dev server. It helps you make sure that you're getting everything that you need. And like if we inspect and we're trying to target mobile, it's like you can start with any of these. I try to like make sure they're right on all of them, at least fully responsive on all of them, just to the main one we're trying to target. But they also have other breakpoints in the browser. But yeah, we're good here. All right,
I
but
know, or I'll check it out. Like, I'll
but
read up on it.
yeah, and then like if you select here, you can select an element, and then that's gonna show, it's gonna highlight it, so you can, target elements and then see what's going on with them inside of the dev console. But there's all kinds of stuff to learning this stuff, but it's not too bad if once you start getting into it, like you just kind of get used to it. But like we could do whatever we want here, any changes we want to make here on this page, and it's gonna just upload it live for us, like so we can see it like I was saying, just to like change it back to primary and see it crashed. That's what I mean about this thing is that it crashes and then you just got to reload it. So if I npm start again and then I reload that when it's done building, if I reload that, oh, there it goes, it reloaded itself. So now it's blue. You just got to get used to it crashing a little bit. Sometimes it crashes depending on the changes. It's a little funny, but Um, it's not going to do that, of course, when you're hosting the project somewhere and you're running it live. Of course not. But um, it's just for development purposes. But we have it set up just for development. We don't have it set up for a build yet. And this is like basically all we have. And then the SCSS file is here. What we are doing though is that we're using Bootstrap classes. So like the if you go to like Bootstrap's documentation, I think I talked about this in another one. No, not Bootstrap. Bootstrap. I think I talked about it in another one where um, I mentioned when you're building with Bootstrap, the main things you have to get to know when you're reading the documentation is the layout section here, and it's got other sections like for forms and for your components and things like that. Your utilities is an important one. So utilities, I think, layout and all of these sections are relevant, but like these are like the main ones you probably use the most, and the components. Uh, but like if you go to any component, you can go to any component you want. I mean, we can go to any component, like even for dang nav bar, and they're gonna have like an example. Like this is one of their examples, but right now it's minimized. But like if we made it full screen, so you can see it better. Uh, you're gonna have it's gonna give you like basically placeholders, I guess you can call them. Not all of them are gonna be relevant. So like this is for your logo, and this is like for your home link with an active. It has an active class on it, so that way you know which one you're currently in, and this is like your normal link. But unless you're gonna use a drop down, you don't need it. You don't. We probably don't need anything disabled, and then we definitely don't need a search right now. I don't even think we're gonna need a search ever in this app. We'll see. But we can take this component if we wanted to, if we wanted to copy it to the clipboard and start modifying it. But you got to make sure that the classes that you're using when you do, even if you modify it like that, if you don't write it from like completely from scratch, you have to make sure that the classes you're using are relevant too, because Bootstrap, you use Bootstrap based on the classes. So It relies on all of its classes to like color things, to style things, to make things responsive. Like the main component, if we go back to the layout, is the containers, and this is like their main like like it says a fundamental building block of Bootstrap is their container, and the ones you'll use the most is just the container that's just come on. See, my computer's all glitching out. So like you have just a normal container here. Um, it comes responsive, but the one that's more fluid or the fluid container is like it'll go across the entire viewport, and then you can use another class to make it take up the entire height of the viewport. So like container fluid is gonna go all the way across. So like if we went back to this thing, I think I'm using like if I minimize it, I think I'm using a container. Okay, so we're using a normal container in here. So like if I show you what I mean, if we went back to inspect, because we have content here, I'm pretty sure I can color this now. If I went like background and we changed it to danger to red, see this that'll color the container, and now you can see our container appears to be fluid, but it's not. Uh, like if we put something inside that container, the container is gonna across, but I'm pretty sure on this one, let me make it bigger. Go to laptop. Yeah, see the container. If you go to like a laptop view, that's past a certain breakpoint, it's got these gaps in it. I think that's just my browser. And on mobile mode, it might fool you. So if you're developing just for mobile, you might think that, okay, my style is going across the viewport. But once you get to a tablet or a laptop, you're not going to get the effect you want. You're going to have all this space. So like one way to get around that is just to change the container to a like if we go back into VS Code here, if we change the container to a fluid container, and that's the one I was telling you about, it's more fluid. As soon as that reloads, oh yeah, I have to reload it because it crashed. Um, once it's done building, it'll reload itself. Now you'll see that it's completely across the viewport.
Hmm.
So you have to make sure you're using the right containers from the first place. Um,
Okay.
yeah, because that's like the container you really want. In most cases, is the fluid one, depending on what you're building. And then even if I put a nav bar, like, because if I put a nav bar inside of any container, it's gonna have gaps because the container doesn't let the content take up the whole width of the container. So like if we look in it, you'll see right here we have a fluid container that takes up the full viewport width, but it's got like default. Well, actually, it doesn't have default. It actually has. They actually gave us, um, as part of the setup, they gave us some values already to plug in um, for the margin and padding. I believe. Let me check that. So basically, like I guess to say it at a lot of our CSS, because Bootstrap is a CSS framework. So like basically, it's not like a JavaScript framework. It's a CSS framework. If you look up Bootstrap, it tells you that on their homepage. There's a CSS framework. What they and what they're doing is everything that you all these Bootstrap classes you're using. It's all CSS. So it's gonna look like you're doing inline CSS. It'll be like if you're in an HTML file and you wrote like and you wrote a style and you're doing like inline styles, for example. It's similar to doing inline styles, or it's just like that because but except we're using Bootstrap classes, so we have to make sure we're using our class that we're using our class attribute because we're gonna be sticking a bunch of classes inside of here. And then part of the setup, they just gave us these default values was uh, to go ahead and set like padding on the y-axis, on the x-axis, and then our margin on the x-axis is auto. Um, but some of these they have more than just these types of settings. Like if we go to Bootstrap, I think it's in utilities. I believe. Let me look. Sometimes I have to remind myself where things are at, but yeah, if you go to like any of these things here, whether So sometimes the names are a little bit okay. So this is just borders. All right. I was looking more for. Let me look at our. Uh, no, I don't think it's gonna be our layout. But I was looking for where they have actually a chart where you could see all the different. I believe it was utilities. Um, spacing, I believe. Yeah. Well, here's one of them. Yeah, for margin and padding. There we go. That's what I thought. So you're not going to find it in here. It's just margin and padding. If you're used to seeing things like that in CSS documentation, like for W3 schools or MDN, they're going to just in here, they're just going to call it just straight up spacing. But it tells you what the notation is, so that way you can learn it and you can use it for which parts you want to apply margin or padding to, and and then you have to use it in your classes. You could use in some instances, you still could use a style, to style something, maybe give it a width, but I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do it like this. I would go a little bit more with the SCSS and give it an ID. If that style, for example, for me, if this styling was going to apply only to one part of a component or one component, then I would give it an ID and then go into my SCSS and put this value on that ID so it only affects that ID. In this instance, it's only going to affect this div, but just because I don't like to have a bunch of inline styling everywhere when we have a SCSS style sheet ourselves, um, I would just change the way that's written a little bit just because I'm picky like that. But um, if you look, they give you examples how you can um, change your margin or your padding. And like here, like they have your padding here. I'm trying to highlight that. You see it. It's a horizontal padding between the two. Um, but like if we go back into where were we at? Oh yeah, layout. So if we go back into layout, you'll run into like grid. So like they have a grid system, um, which is Flexbox grid, and it's gonna show you like different examples. It's gonna tell you how it works, um, and then like it'll show you that like basically the grid is split up into I guess 12 sections. So like on these first two, if you just put like if I believe the way this one is working, if you just put two divs without specifying how much space they should be taking up, by default it's gonna just give it a width of 6, like to out of 12 spaces to take up 6 spaces, or 12 columns to pick up 6 columns. So by default it's 12 columns. Um, and then so if you just put random columns in row or columns or rows, well you have a row, but if you put random columns in there, because we only have two rows, if you put random columns in there, it's going to just size them automatically. But you can specify, like up here how they put in 3, but they made column 2 wider. So like if we look at column 2, it's because column 1 and 3 just have the column class, so those are going to be adjusted automatically, but they're giving the column width 6 here. So this one is going to yeah, we can't edit it here. I was gonna see if I can edit it in here and it would change it here, but they don't have that. We'd have to edit it on Stack Blitz. Let me see Stack Blitz to see if we can edit a little bit here. Yeah, here we go. So like for example, if I wanted to change that, if I wanted to give that a 4, you see how it automatically adjusted them all to have a width of 4, because they're all gonna take up uh you have to understand that you only have 12 columns to work with. And if you try to push it past that, you're gonna end up with some unintended things. Like for now, it works because these are on auto, so columns 1 and 3 on auto. But if we did like 12 for this one, you're gonna get them all just stacked because it's using the flex box. But that's not probably what you would. Maybe that's not what you intended at first. And then I would suggest doing it differently if you wanted them to stack. then you would intentionally give each column a width of 12 if that's what you. That's how I would do. I would be a little bit more descriptive, and then say that I wanted each of my columns to have take up 12 rows, rather than just feel like I'm forcing it to do what I want. You know what I mean? I don't know if that comes off right, but you want to be a little bit more intentional with what you're trying to do. Don't make it happen by accident, is what I'm saying, I guess. Let me leave here because we're not going to save that. But then we have columns. Like they're going to talk more about the columns themselves. Uh, I think this is more towards alignment because you can like have them take up different positions inside of the container. So you can make it take up the center of the container, up top, below, things like that, different positions, wherever you want, basically. You know what I mean? Like this one has like one big container and it's got everything just set inside of it wherever they wanted it, depending on the where what class they're using, like justified content start, justified content center. Like you're gonna get different results. So like of course this one start, this one's center, this one's gonna be justified content in. This one might be something with some in between class. Let's see. Justify content around. All right, so justify content around, justify content between, and evenly. So yeah, that makes sense. Around, yeah, evenly, or between and evenly. So this one centers it evenly with equal padding or margin on the side on all the way around. This one just between because you want more space between them, etc. You get it. But basically, yeah, when you're doing web development, I mean, I can try to create tutorials for people, which I was intending to do on the Dark Mode Devs YouTube. I was gonna do some tutorials, like basic tutorials, not like complex tutorials, but just basic tutorials how to use whatever we're using to a certain extent. But like basically, if you're serious about web development, you're gonna be living in the documentation. There's no way around it. Like if you're looking for an easy way out, then that's not this ain't the place to be looking for the easy way out. And I don't mean like dark mode devs or this server. I mean like web development. So like if your career is like I want to do web development, build applications, all that stuff, you can't have that attitude where I don't want to deal with the documents. I just want all my shortcuts because there are no shortcuts. If you're going to learn and do things right, you're going to be living in that documentation and reading it and combing through it and seeing how I'm going to apply it. There's just no way around it. And then you got to stay up to date with it because right now we're using Bootstrap 5. Eventually, if we use a newer version, or if there's a newer version of Bootstrap, we have to make sure we're sticking to our current version of Bootstrap, unless we're going to update our current version and then get up to date with that version. And it's like that for everything, especially like how Donald was saying that he's new here and he likes React. React changes a lot, and like you have to stay up to date with React. Like I believe it's like it could be quarterly or every 6 months. You have to be looking at the docs whenever they make changes, especially like major or breaking changes. You have to be up to date. Like you got to stay living in your documentation. That's why like everybody says specialize. Like if you're gonna do web development, like there's places to learn how we're gonna start learning with Bootstrap, but when you get into a JavaScript framework, yeah, I see Donald's already backing me up. 3 to 5 years experience right there with React. It's like just to let you guys know, but like that's just the reality of it. It's like you're gonna be living in the documentation and staying up to date with it. And then when it's a JavaScript framework, even more so because those change even more than something like Bootstrap. Bootstrap doesn't change too frequently and it doesn't introduce very many like breaking changes. So like Bootstrap is pretty, I would say beginner friendly, and you can build some cool stuff with it. Like I was showing people before, like if I show you like my what do you call it? My portfolio website, I built it with Bootstrap. So like you go here, check out my portfolio sometime if you want. I built it with Bootstrap. It's built with Bootstrap. It had a services section for when I was freelancing. It's got some of my projects or AI projects like web, just the ones I wanted people to see. And then it's got contact and things like that. So like this, you can have fun with Bootstrap. Build some pretty cool stuff with Bootstrap. But yeah, sorry I didn't let that run all the way. But You could build it in a framework. Like if you want to specialize in a framework like a JavaScript framework, well then learn that JavaScript framework and then build your portfolio on that JavaScript framework. Me, I don't stick to a JavaScript framework because um, there's newer ones that I like and that I want to implement in other projects. So like one of them was like Svelte with Svelte Kit, and another one is Solid.js. I'm more into like the newer frameworks. But React is like really great, like for like if you want a tech job somewhere because everybody's using React, and that's usually what makes you hireable. If that's your goal is to get hired at a tech company that's using, because a lot of them use React. Uh, I'm not going to use React, but hey, that's just me. That's my preference because I choose to use newer technologies. But React is still good. This doesn't mean that it's bad. And then Next.js took React and made it even more complicated. So if you already feel like React's complicated, if you switch into Next.js, you're going to be in trouble. It's going to be even more complicated because I was checking out Next.js too. I think it's at version 14 right now, and it takes React and it makes it even more complex. But it's still pretty cool to work with, like if you get it. Yeah, yeah. So like with Next.js, you make it you make it more full stack capable, but they have UI and like client side and server side rendering that if you when you're even when you're working on the front end, you can decide how your components render with Next.js. Whereas with React, I don't know if you have that um, functionality anywhere unless you're using Next.js. But like supposedly Next.js takes React and it makes it more powerful. But Next.js is going to be a lot tougher to learn, so I would recommend learning React first, but we're kind of going out of context a little bit. Um, but yeah, just um, that's gonna be the reality of it. Is that like even this project, this basic project for everybody that's never used Bootstrap before, uh, you're gonna have to live in the documentation and be comfortable with it, and then be willing to learn and comb through that and have patience because like we can do tutorials or I can help you guys and we can build something together if you like or like how we're doing now, or maybe if you want me to build a component, we can go through maybe how that might look. But everybody might have a different approach. But in the end, you have to be able to, when we start assigning tasks, if you're going to pick up a task, you got to be bold enough to pick a task up that you think you can complete and basically live in the documentation as long as you need to understand what you have to do to build that component. Uh, so yeah, um, John John Vick. I don't know how to say your name. So this person's name, John Vick. If you'd like to introduce yourself, you can talk on the upper right hand corner with the hand. It'll say if you, or you can just type in the chat, the chat bubble. We're just curious what type of experience you had. Wow, John Vick book. All right, so yeah, so see, like I was saying, yes, it is. Documentation is very important. Thank you for the information, Donald. But documentation is very, very important, and you're never going to get around it. You're never going to be able to develop without it, no matter what you're doing. I've never like I can't think of any type of programming because I've learned C++ programming, C sharp, a little bit of C sharp, not much, but I learned a lot of C++ and C, because you consequently you learn C while you're learning C++. Some, in some ways, even though they still differ. Um, and then Java and Python and JavaScript's my specialty, but uh, learning all these things I've never seen where you can just get by, not reference the documentations, and just think you're going to build a large scale application without by being lazy and not referencing anything or not researching or not knowing what tools you have at your disposal or not like combing through the documentation like I was saying or anything just like you can't it's not you're not going to do it. You could try to go on some I guess website and maybe these AI websites they have out there, try to see how much luck you have with AI generating code for you, and try to keep slapping that in there. Maybe you get lucky and something works, maybe you don't. But That's basically this ain't the type of profession where you can um expect some type of automation where it's like lazily, like I mean where you're trying to just be lazy. Like you have to really dig in deep, and you're gonna live in the document. That's why they claim developers, or that's why they say developers are lifelong learners, because you literally are. You're gonna feel like you're in school and like you're learning your whole career, like your whole time. The whole time I've been since I've started, that's how it's felt for me. Like I'm learning every day, new learning all the time, and applying it and coding every day and learning and building stuff. It just doesn't stop. And then if you don't like that process, if you don't love that process, then I would suggest finding a career that you do love, because you want to love it. Like if you love it, it's not like it's work. It's like, it's something you love doing. It's great. And like this is definitely one of those careers you gotta love doing, because there's like so much involved. I see a lot of people there, they give up, or they find out it's just too much for them. But it is. It's gonna be a lot to keep up with. So I kind of talked about that because um, maybe for people that are new, so you know that you're never gonna get around to it. There's no way to like exhaust the documentation, or there's no way you're gonna memorize all that information. You could try, you know what I mean? And then and then things change, and then you're gonna have to learn more, or a newer approach of how to do things. So like it's just something you have to be comfortable with the reading, studying, experimenting, and practicing. Experimenting, I think, is good, because sometimes I'll experiment. I'll build things and I'll say, well, what happens if I do this or that? Or I wonder if I can combine this with that. Or you know what I mean? Like I start getting my wheels turning, and I like to experiment sometimes too. And I think that's like a good way to learn, is because I never stopped experimenting, because I still get curious with code. And then I feel like it's a good thing to see how you can combine some of these things. So I just got disconnected. My name is John. I'm from Colombia. I'm a beginner in JS and React. Right now I'm living in Vegas, and I want to start my career in tech. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. All right. Thank you for introducing yourself, John. Um, we're glad to have you here. So, like we were saying, I'm recording this event. I was gonna put it on YouTube when it's done, so that way you guys can watch it. I should get that link for you too, because I feel like I gotta repost it, because our chats. Let me go back to the chat, or not to the chat. I'm sorry, or let me go to YouTube, because I have. Let me go to the YouTube account so I can get you guys the link. Or actually, where did we put the link at? I think we already have it in the chat. Let me look. I'll just pull it down for you, because it's gonna be a long history. So I'll just grab it and pull it down for you. Here we go. I think featured. Oh yeah, that was the featured, but it's all right. That's a good link. It'll work. So let's just put it in there. But this is the link to the YouTube channel. Um, and then when I put this video there, you'll be able to watch back to see what you missed. There's a couple other videos on there, and then there's more content that I'm planning on creating for basic web development. So people that are new here that are trying to learn, they can like pick up on videos here and there to help them in the process. Because I got feedback that from some people that were completely new, they want to learn, but they feel like picking up a task is going to be too much for them. So I felt like maybe I gotta have uh, some types of little tutorials, like mini tutorials about basic concepts that they have to know. And then maybe if you guys have questions, or during these events, you can bring something up and let me know, and we can go over it together. John, how else have you been learning? Have you been learning through, like, is there any, like, I guess you could say platform, or one platform you've been sticking to learn, or did you go to like a boot camp, or did you do any of those things? Oh, okay. Which one? Which one did you do? Was it a free boot camp, or was it a paid? Well, I guess we'll find out right now if I've heard of it. Oh, last year. Okay, I've never heard of that one. Academ, uh, Academ, low. I don't know. I don't. Maybe you have a typo on the spelling. I'm looking. I'm waiting for you to type. Oh yeah, yeah. It could be why. Yeah, 'cause I never heard of it. Was it a free boot camp or was it paid? Like, did you pay for that, or did they have free boot camps too? It was paid. Yeah. What did you learn? Just like React, like full stack, front end? Because I know you said React, so likely front end or full stack. Mostly front end, I think. Probably full stack, JS, React, Node.js. All right, that's cool. Yeah, full stack. All right. Yeah, so like they are teaching a lot of React everywhere because React, if you look for like jobs for JavaScript developers, you're gonna see React, Angular, and Vue jobs. Those are the three that they're gonna popularize everywhere, and they're gonna be the three that they suggest everybody learns if they want to get a tech job. It's gonna be React. React is the main one, but React, Angular, and Vue. Vue is like I don't know. I haven't seen very many jobs online with Vue. You'll see them here and there. Angular, you'll see more often than Vue, but React is like everywhere. Like there's gonna be companies hiring for React everywhere. Everybody's on the React train right now. Um, so that's a good skill to learn if that's what your goal is. Let me see. Yeah, so like I would just say when you guys have time, if you haven't, check out the YouTube channel. I got some more videos on there, and then whatever questions you have, I can answer them. Nobody else has any questions before we figure something else out, move on to something else? Don't look like it. All right, Yosef, what about you? Was there something else I should have explained or could have explained better with the example we are going over?
No, I just need to do some reading on it because I've just been basically dealing with back end. But I realized that I do have an interest in like completing a whole project and seeing the front end as well. So I've been kind of like scouting React, and you know now this SaaS is just something that looks pretty interesting. So I just kind of wanted to like get into it a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's better than learning just straight up like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Like most people, that's how they start. Like they'll go to boot camps and they just show them like vanilla, just straight up HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But I think learning SCSS is better than learning just CSS. CSS is like I don't know, CSS is cool. You want to use it, but I feel like it's more. I feel like SCSS is more friendlier to learn. I feel like the syntax of it, it's just easier to read, better to learn. But you're still gonna have to like because we're using Bootstrap, you're not gonna rely entirely on that file. So like for the styling, you'll be relying on the Bootstrap classes first, and whatever you can't use Bootstrap for, then if it requires like custom styling, then you would turn to the SCSS. So like our SCSS is basically like a default. Like if there's nothing in Bootstrap that we can use, then we need to put it in and we need that styling for the project, then we have to put it in our SCSS file. Like for example, I gave the example of like our color theme. Whenever we come out with a color theme, then we're gonna need to uh, put that color theme in our SCSS files and store it as variables there, so we can use them across our page to keep styling consistent. Uh, there's other use cases too. Maybe there's a component that we want to use, but Bootstrap doesn't have it. Well, then we got to build a custom component, and therefore we probably can't use all of Bootstrap styling. Maybe we got to take it a step further and build more custom styling. So I mean, there's different reasons why but for the most part, we should be okay with Bootstrap because the way I was looking at The When I was looking at the project itself on Miro, um, when I was sharing that Miro board, uh, like even just looking at it from this basic level here, most of the hardest part for everybody that's learning is going to be what's going on behind the scenes, like in the JavaScript side of things. Everything else, like is going to be straightforward. Like the UI is going to be just simple and straightforward. I mean, we could make it a little more exciting wherever we want, but like I know this looks like pretty basic, but it is because it's a low fidelity wireframe, like I explained before. But we can make it as detailed or as fancy as we want later on down the road. Uh, but um, but the hardest part is going to be the logic of what's going on behind the scenes, not just for like giving it the functionality for everything that we need happening within it, but also on the AI side. It might be a little bit complex for people that are new that have never used like an API before, or even an AI API, because the AI's API is going to be used slightly different than a normal API that has a bunch of data. Like most people are used to APIs that where you're accessing some type of data. Like for example, like if we built like a weather app, like how they have that as an example, and you're trying to fetch weather data. Maybe they're updating that weather data, or maybe it's just dummy data, but it's just for you to build, just for learning purposes. Because I've seen a lot of free APIs out there that suck, but they're good for like learning purposes. You're gonna be with the AI, the API works just a little bit different. Well, actually, a lot different, I guess. And then like because you have to set it up a certain way to generate, and then you have to scope it. You have to give it like a context and keep it within context, so that way we don't have people on our using our AI to just chat or to do coding or to do anything that's not intended. We want people to use it for uh, to interpret an image or to interpret text that's relevant to ingredients. And if they're gonna, like for example, if they select the enter text manually option, like the text option to input text, um, we want to make sure that we run a check on that text that they're asking for things that are nutrition based on the ingredients they're trying to get information about. We want to restrict that, because if we don't, we can end up in trouble, not just because it defeats the purpose of the app, like scope of the app, but because we can have people on there just messing around and hitting that API, and it's going to cost us, yeah, less than a penny every time they hit it, but accumulatively over time it could be a lot, and that's not what we want. So like that's why I talked about well, eventually when we get into the logic for the AI, the API side of things, how when we connect to Chat GPT, we're gonna have to scope it, like keep it so that way it doesn't go out off scope, but also maybe at some point develop some kind of subscription or something based type of deal here, or at least something where people can, even if it's cheap, just so people can use it, but at least they're paying for, um, or at least helping pay for those hits on that API. Depending on, we haven't fleshed that out yet, so like we don't know what the intention is yet, as far as like whether we want to monetize it or not. But the reality is that because if we use Chat GPT, whether we monetize it or not, Chat GPT's API costs money. So like you can use Chat GPT 3.5 for free if you're using it on the browser. But once you connect to the API to use it in like your custom application, it costs money. And so like that's my point, is that no matter how we use it, it's going to cost money if we are going to connect to its API. So we have to come up with a way where whether it's cheap or not, we have to come up with a way for
Server.
people. Huh?
What server is it gonna run from? You're gonna host it in the cloud, or like
No,
how's it gonna?
we would run it from our Express server, because we're going to use Node.js with Express. We could run it with the JavaScript Express server. That's if we go with JavaScript, and then you could connect to the Chat GPT with JavaScript, and then and scope it and everything. Give it, with just JavaScript. You can do everything with JavaScript, but with our Express server, and then we can host it all on Versal, which I like Versal. I like hosting things on Versal. Versal's great, and then they optimize their platform. They give you analytics, and it's cheap. Like for what they give you, it's cheap because it's like if you want the if you want a plan, like if you want to use it for free for educational purposes, we could put this project on there if we keep it for free. If we're not monetizing it, we can actually put this project on there and host it free. But it's gonna cost money, all those hits on the API. So like that's why I said it'd be better just to monetize it, even if it's cheap, even if it's like $1 or something like that, or a couple dollars a month, or I don't know, just something like where we can try to get people to pay for the credits they're using to hit that API at first for testing purposes. Because Versal, if they find out that you put a project and host it on there that's being monetized, they'll ban you. They could ban your account. They'll pull your project down as a first warning, but you can get in trouble after that. They could ban you and maybe take further action because you're not supposed to use them to host a monetization. Like you're not supposed to be monetizing a product and think you can host it there for free because that's that they tell you from the beginning you can't do that. So that's up to you if you want to test those waters. But like I feel like um, um, it's a good platform. You don't want to ruin that, and it's cheap, like $20 a month if you pay for it, and you can put a lot of projects on there that whether you monetize them or not, you can put a lot of projects on there, and they optimize a lot of things, and you can store your front end, your back end together on there. You can, yeah, you can. Oh yeah, thanks, Donald. Yeah, yeah, because you don't want legal action if they do take any on you, and then you just don't want to be crook. You know what I mean? That's just not the way to go. Like, you don't want to like try to see what you can get away with on all these providers, because when they catch it, they're gonna pull it down or ban you or whatnot. And maybe they don't have the time and the resources, or actually they usually do have the resources, but maybe they just don't have the time to deal with it on a legal level. But it's not worth getting, ending up with all the problems you're gonna have if you're trying to monetize something and host it for free somewhere. But Versal's great and it's cheap, $20 a month, and you can host a lot of stuff on there. And then you can host your front end and back end together in one project. And then on top of that, if you have an env file, which you have to have for to protect all of our credentials, you can link that there and create custom env variables, so that way you don't have to worry about a lot of that process when you're doing a build for production. Versal makes a lot of things easy for you there, so that way that a lot of other hosting providers make complicated, I guess you could say. It's like Versal makes a lot of things easy, and then they're gonna do a lot of they're gonna take a lot of actions towards security for you to like encrypt your env files, and or if you're running passwords and things like that. And then they optimize all your files and your images. Even though the bundler does that, Versal does it again. So Versal's gonna check to make sure all those things are optimized anyway. So it's gonna do Versal does a lot of good things, and it's got analytics on for your page. If you're like, if for example, if we put this thing out there to monetize it and we put it out publicly, we start marketing it, we get users looking at it and using it. We can look at the analytics there to see how it's doing, to see, to you know what I mean, to see. Um, Also, it has analytics to optimize the app itself to see where the app needs optimization or what you can do to make it faster or better, more performant, whatever. It's got a lot of stuff on there, a lot of things. So like that's why I always recommend Versal. So like if we go to Versal, I don't know if you guys seen it before, but I'm not logged in, I don't think right now. But like Versal, if you go to their pricing, if you go hobby, like it says, this is for it's free. They give you a free account where you can use it to host things that are like educational, like if you're trying to build a school project or a boot camp project. But if you got to pay for pro if you want to monetize, and they'll tell you that too because if you contact Versal and you ask them, they'll let you know that if you're trying to monetize on a free account, they're gonna pull you down and ban you. But if you have something that you feel like, man, that could potentially monetize this, and I want to see where it goes, It's just $20 a month, and then you can put more than that one project there too. You get like a team account, a pro account, which I'll show you kind of what mine looks like. Oh, whoops, why did I do that? I'll show you what mine looks like just in case you're curious. I'll log into mine real quick. But I have a few projects on here. Uh, like you got the hobby plan, but you can switch to your pro plan, and then you can put in as many projects as you want. I have these three running on it right now, but like if we went to like this one for example, um, so this one was more like a an app where we were experimenting with to see. And on this one, we didn't build a backend for it. We're actually using, I think we're using more like the JavaScript fetch API combined somewhat with, we're basically doing um, fetching our data from the browser instead of fetching it from a server on this app here. And then we have a little store that we built they're just affiliate links. And we have our about page. So like it looks a lot better in mobile view, but like just to give you an idea. And then but with that one's still not done, that one's still in development, so we got to get back to work on that one. But you can host like anything you're trying to monetize, you can host in your pro account. On my hobby, I don't have anything there because maybe I thought about this project. If we're gonna for testing purposes, we can host it here in the hobby account, and then once we're done testing it and we feel like okay, let's take it to the next step and monetize it. I was okay with monetize putting it on. I'm okay with putting it in our in this in the paid account, the pro account, and then we can just go from there and and then market it. Start with the marketing. Have get come up with a marketing strategy, social platforms, and start putting it out there. But um, any other questions? I think we got like 10 minutes. So like I guess what I can say if nobody's got other questions, I guess is for the future, what our plan is to now that we've got these things in place is going to be to um, come up with tasks, I guess, because I've been noticing from event to event, not everybody can show up all the time. So because of the consistency that that we don't have like uh, a, s- a set number of people showing up consistently like every single time. So I think it's better to like plan the tasks, like set the tasks out on Miro, and then let people select these tasks and see what they want to do. So like okay, Tiffany says she's ready for tasks, but yeah, we have to build a backend. So um yeah, we're gonna use an Express server. Well, we're not gonna use JavaScript's fetch API. I don't think that's a wise decision for the AI side of things. I mean, I think you could get away with that, but it's gonna run slower. But I think for the AI side of things, yeah, we're gonna have to come up with the. We're gonna have to. It's not complicated. It'll be just a basic Express server, and then the architecture of it's not gonna be complicated, and then we're just gonna put the logic probably in one or two files, maybe even just one uh, for the uh, for the AI, and that's probably it. It's not gonna be like overly complex, like if we had even with just the basic CRUD operations, then we would have a different architecture. But because we're just connecting to the AI's API endpoint, all but it's probably going to be just an Express server with one file. Uh, what product are we going to use for our backend? Oh, Express. So Node.js with Express. So that's what we're heading. That's what we're shooting for, an Express server. Node.js with Express server, and using node mount. So like no, the Express server has or Node.js has a similar feature when you run Express when you run an Express project. Uh, like how Parcel use the um, has a built-in dev server. Express Node.js has a built-in dev server called NodeMon for what it's going to do is every time we make changes in it, it's going to automatically refresh or reload. Similar to that, it's going to show you the changes, and then select when we're running queries, I guess you could you would call it, like when we're running like basically we're going to send some a request to the to ChatGPT's API, and yeah, and then we're gonna maybe ask it a question or something, some test questions when we get it running, and see what we get back. Um, it'll do it for us. Like it'll watch. You'll see the process when you get there. But I feel like I don't know if anybody here has taken that step before. So like what me and another one of the other guys talked about was we need to basically divide the tasks for the front end and the back end, and then we need to assign people that have experience to oversee, like not just to help build, but to help oversee people that have no experience or lesser experience, to help guide them a little bit in the process, because I know that everybody that we have coming to the events are at different levels. Some of the people had zero experience. Some people have some experience. Some people had already, 3, 5. One guy had like 25 years experience. So like there's different levels of experience. So like what I was gonna say was we plan to put somebody like, like a hierarchy. We have a senior over the juniors or whatnot, but we just to help oversee things, to get things going, because if, like, for example, Tiffany wants to learn back end, if she hasn't done it extensively, then she's going to struggle there. So we want somebody with the experience to help, to be there to help her build that. And it's the same thing on the front end. um, and I don't care, I could be anywhere because I do full stack, so I can overlook or manage everything with everybody. But we wanted it to be a little bit more structured. So like that's the next step, is defining that structure, but defining the task in each part for the front end, the back end, and then letting people be able to, based on their experience, maybe they just want to pick one up, or even if you have zero experience, still you can still pick one up and then go from there. So like I think that's like basically um, what it is. So I would say Express is a server. Node.js is the JavaScript environment to run our JavaScript, but Node.js or Express is our server, our actual server. But the Express, I believe, does provide middleware as part of the architecture, where we can use in a Node.js Express server. We could use middleware there. Um, Most people recommend it. Um, but I think for our purposes, I don't believe we're gonna need it, because it's just a different type of, we're accessing this API endpoint. It's different. It looks different than when you're doing like CRUD operations on other types of data. It's gonna look a lot different from that. For something like that, you might need middleware, but for this one here, I don't believe we need middleware at all. It's different. It's a different type of logic that we're using on this server to access the endpoint, that API endpoint. So it's gonna look different. It's not gonna look. It's gonna be a different type. Yeah, the CRUD of create, read, update, delete. So that's like what Donald put. That's what CRUD means: create, read, update, delete. Some people, instead of delete, they say destroy, but it's the same thing. Delete or destroy, however they say it, it's still the part of the basic CRUD operation. It's the same thing. Um, but basically, when you're creating data to be stored on a backend or somewhere. When you're reading, you're fetching that data and you just want it read only. You want to read it. What is it? Like, for example, somebody, like if you create something for a username or like a user database, you would have a username, phone number, email, etc. For example, to originally create the profile, you would use the create. And then to read it, you would use the read. To update it, self-explanatory. Use the update. You would update the fields. You would target the fields you want and update it. And delete or destroy, whatever you want to call it. I call it delete. Um, you would select whatever fields, or maybe the whole um, user's data, like the data as a whole, and just delete it. And when you delete it, it's permanent. there's no how do I fix that? Once you delete it, if you delete it in your database, too bad, too late. So you got to use that one really carefully. The update is definitely easy to fix. Read is hard to screw up because you're read only, and create you're just going to create new things with either within an existing user's um, database or I guess you could call it fields. Depends on what we're working with when we get there, but we're not going to be used doing these kind of operations for connecting to Chat GPT, but it'll be just a little bit similar because we still have to send data to it and request that response is going to come back from the AI, and then we have to be able to connect all that logic to the front end eventually, where we have our input text field. It gets sent over to the you know it gets sent over to the API to the AI. The AI processes it and then sends it back to us, and then we update it in the UI to show to display it to the user. And that's it. That's like a basic rundown of the flow of what we're trying to achieve when we get there. So I think that would be the next thing would definitely be on the mural board at some point, divvying up to, or creating some type of hierarchy and assigning tasks, or at least coming up with tasks, generating tasks, and then once we do that, getting anybody that's interested in the project connected. So all you got to do is DM me if you're interested, and then I'll add you as a collaborator. Um, and then if you want to be in mural board too, because part of that's part of being on the project, I'll add you as collaborator there too. You can just DM me with like your email or your GitHub username. If you don't have a GitHub, then you can watch my other videos. You'll see where I talk about creating a GitHub. That it's a must if you're going to be a developer. You have to have a GitHub profile. There's like no way around it. It's good to have, especially if you're going to collaborate with others. There's different types of collaboration platforms too, but GitHub is one of the main ones. But there are others, but the others I believe are paid. Um, and maybe other companies use the others, like GitKraken. I think is one that I've seen used, but I've only seen GitKraken used in game development when I was learning a little bit of game development. Um, so yeah, there it is. There, we're already at noon, the end of the event, and if any of you guys don't have questions, we're free to go. So I believe I don't know if any of you guys had any questions before we leave. Yeah, you're welcome down. Anytime you guys want to join, thank you for joining. And then if you guys are, like I said, if you're interested in the project, DM me. And hopefully, yeah, Tiffany, don't worry, we're gonna get the task going. Um, I don't know if we can, if I don't know if we have enough information because I was trying to get more information on people so I can see who's gonna be part of the project and then assign them tasks. But I don't think this is gonna be like that. I think this is gonna be the kind of deal where people are gonna have to just where it's gonna be wiser in our situation to just list the task and have some people just select them. Just put your name or something, or we'll figure it out on Mural. We'll have to create something there so we can put compartmentalize it. Like we'll have a front end section, back end section, our task, and then people can pick a task, and then we'll have people that are more experienced overseeing whatever section they feel like they want to be responsible for or like oversee it, and we'll get going like that. So you guys have a good Sunday. Thank you for showing up. I'll see you guys. I'm going to end the recording. I'll see you, Yosef.